Hey everyone, it's Andrew Brown, and welcome to the Free GenAI Bootcamp. Today we have a very fun application that, if you like writing, you're going to like this one. And I have my guest instructor here, Darya, who has built the actual application, is going to lead us through an instruction. But I'll pass over to her to introduce herself, and then we're going to dive into this code base.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, Andrew, for the introduction. My name is Darya, and I work as a senior data scientist at a company called SLP. And due to my work, as a data scientist, we need to create some sort of UI for our applications so people can have a feel what we build. And that's why I decided to, because I also interested in learning Japanese, and I found it funny and interesting use case to train on one hand my Japanese, on the other hand building applications. So today we're going to see how to build this Kana application from, I wouldn't say from scratch, but from my repository, from my code base. But let's dive in. Okay, and we need to share the screen. Yeah, great. So this is a application, and so today this is will be two parts. The first part we will have a look at the application itself. What are main parts? What is going on? Yeah. And the second part, we will try to deploy this to AWS. You can see here the architecture diagram, and I will explain it later on. But I first need to have a side note here. This is an HTTP version of deployment, so this kind of the simplest version of deployment if you just need to quickly deploy it. But if you need more secure advanced version of deployment to HTTPS, I also have a branch called deploy HTTPS. It's more complicated because you need to have your custom domain. You need to work with certificates. So we're not going to dive into it today, but just in case you know that you have a place to go further. So without further ado, let's dive into the application itself. And first, we are just going to clone this repo and to see how it works. And I will explain you the code base. So we are going to get to the command line. And then let me cd to the folder and make a new folder here.
And boot campers, if you see something, it's just because it's off screen, okay?
Yes, so I already in the directory I'm going to use to clone this repo to.
Mhm.
And let me copy and paste the command from my another screen here. So this is just a simple git clone command. And the next one, we are going to cd to our app directory. Then we are just going to create our virtual environment here. And the next step, we're going to activate this virtual environment. And we're going to pip install requirements. So all these commands are inside the repo. So I just show you how it would look like if you would implement it from the repo itself. So requirements are being installed. It will take maybe a minute or so. In the meantime, let me open the repo itself. I'm using PyCharm as my IDE,
Oh, nice.
but yeah.
Does the company pay for it or?
No, it's a community edition, so nothing
Oh,
fancy.
I didn't know they had a community edition. Like for those who don't know, PyCharm is part of the JetBrains family. These are very complete, comprehensive IDEs, and they're really really nice. Um, and I mean, I'm just curious about PyCharm. PyCharm as we're waiting. Does it have any integrations with AI coding assistants yet? Or
Let me see. I haven't checked it like recently, but when I checked like last time, it hadn't much integration with any like AI features. I remember that I was testing a code whisperer in a VS code.
hmm.
So yeah, it was like that.
But for those again who are not like if you want an editor that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, specifically Python, think about it. And I did not know there's a community edition, so that makes it really interesting. So
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. Yeah, no problem. So our requirements are already installed, and we need
Hmm.
to run this preload model script. Ah,
Hmm.
okay, it was already run. This script, I will show you this in a minute. It will preload the model that do optical character recognition when you try to write your Kana. So, okay, we should be good to see the application running. I run Streamlit. I ran a command Streamlit run, and I passed init Streamlit up.py as an argument. And this is our Kana application. So it's not complicated, and it is designed for exactly it is saying to be. You can learn Kana, you can practice reading and writing. And let's do this in parallel. I will show the Streamlit code, and in parallel, I will show the application itself. So it's easy to you to understand what is going on, right? So this is my PyCharm. I opened the code here, and let me go to the app itself. And this is like a first entry point in its Streamlit app.py, because our Streamlit application has multiple pages.
Oh,
We're defining the like starting point for Streamlit, so it know what to run first, and then we're just aggregating them. We're like collecting a book out of pages, right? And we are just showing Streamlit where how to name those files and what is the path to those files. So this is very simple. And the first page is Roma Z to Kana. Uh, no, sorry. It's the first page is Learn Kana page. It is very simple. And actually, let me try to show it on a GitHub here. Yeah, this would be more easy. CDK up. Yeah, this one is the first one. So as you can see, first we're doing the import Streamlit, and then we're configuring the page itself. And then we are showing the page title and the page subheader. And divider, it's just a line that divides it. And then the application goes very simple, like this page goes very simple, because we need to define the study mode. As you may know, Japanese has two alphabets in addition to kanji, yes. It has hiragana and katakana. And we are just selecting, like providing user a possibility to select whether hiragana, whether katakana to study. And looks like this. So this is our page title, like subheader, and the possibility to select whether hiragana or whether katakana to study. So it's just a simple radio button to click, and the alphabet changes upon the user click. And we have a footer here. And going back to our code, how it looks like. Um, so we are accepting this as a parameter, as a study mode parameter, and we are changing the image path
Hmm.
here. So we have here two images. One is hiragana, one is katakana, and we're just changing the path and showing the correct picture here. And yeah, here's a divider and a footer. So this page is very, very simple. Next page, next page would be already practicing. So we're already done with some learning. Good luck with memorizing all these characters. I know it may be challenging.
I like I write out Japanese every single day for hours, and I cannot do half of the katakana characters. I always forget them. They're very hard to remember.
Yes, yes. You need to use some techniques, like think about like cow or some flowers or some different pictures to memorize. Yeah, it is really hard. So I read somewhere that Japanese writing system considered to be one of the most complicated systems in the world. So
It,
it's kind of makes sense.
but it works for them, right? So
It works.
it works. Well, really, it works for them. So, but it is. It's just when you look at the history of how it evolved, it's like it works, right? But it's just yeah, I wonder if they'll ever do a revision of the language, but because like for those that probably don't know, like maybe don't know about Korean, but like Korean used to use Chinese characters, and they changed it so like it matched all the sounds of their language, and they made it like to figure out how the fewest amount of letters and very simple components. But the Japanese was kind of like imagine you had a legacy code base, right? So the Chinese
Yes.
characters are your legacy code base, and they're like, we're gonna use this system for our stuff. It doesn't fit. Okay, then we'll have to build a phonetic one on top of it. Okay, but then when we have loan words, we're gonna have this, and I don't know. It just reminds me of like the Windows ecosystem, like layers on layers of coding, but it works, right? So, and they're not gonna
Except that
change.
it was a legacy code base for quite a long time, right?
Yeah, no one wants to take over that technical debt. They're just like we'll just live with it. So
Exactly. So yeah, so this page is to practice our kana writing. So given the romaji or like sound of the kana, we need to write something like a character. I don't know whether it's correct for toe. Yeah, it's toe.
Because
And
it looks like a toe, like they're clipping the nails of the toe. Yeah,
yeah,
really, that's
yeah,
that's how I
exactly.
remember it. Yeah,
Yeah, so here's the functionality is you can also change the mode, hiragana or katakana. You can, if you don't like the character, you can change a new character. This is like a random choice of a character. And here you can draw and you can submit to check whether it's correct or not. So let's go back to the code base and let me show you this page. Okay, so this page is a little bit more complicated already because it has more pieces, but essentially it is, if we don't look at the moment at these helper functions, it starts very similar. We have a page title, we have some subheader, and then we also have a mode here. So is it hiragana or katakana we want to study? Also here we have a model that does a optical character recognition. Here I used Manga OCR model from Hugging Face Hub. So it is a OCR model that was created specifically for recognizing, yeah, manga, but it is good for our use case. We have only one character to recognize, but it's okay for our use case.
well, something that was really interesting is I looked into it, and I think it supports all the kanji too, right? Because
Yeah, but we're not going into kanji. And I also
yeah,
saw, yeah,
I mean,
at
for
this
me, I'm
moment.
thinking for like me, I'm like, oh, I can, I'm like, I'll update the code so I can practice kanji. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. If we think about possible enhancements, it can be in the future. So it gives you, for example, a phrase and you need to write it in a drawable canvas. But it's, yeah, let's agree that it's like a level up.
It's a bit more work. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And here we have a random choice out of Romazi. So you can practice different characters at random. And here we have a function that change your mode. So if you choose katakana or hiragana after, so if you choose the mode, it should update the character. And yeah, here is a button to choose a new character out of selected mode. And then this is our drawable canvas. So here is one trick here. If you start to work with Streamlit, typically, like default behavior of Streamlit, if you click on something, it is going to reload the whole page. And we don't need to have this behavior in case that we draw a character, yeah, because there are like at least several clicks when you're drawing like one single character. It's not so handy to reload the whole page. So we are just using Streamlit form here, and it is like lives independently on your page. It doesn't cause the whole page reload when you do something inside this form. And we have a Streamlit canvas uh, here. It's imported from not original Streamlit, but it's a component from a Streamlit drawable canvas library. So people just built on top of Streamlit to be able, because originally Streamlit doesn't have such functionality to draw something, but people built more like custom components based on Streamlit. So we're
Okay.
using this. Yeah, and there are a lot of like adjustable features. You can, if you want to change the color, you can change the stroke width. You can change the size of your canvas. So it's up to you. When you click submit, this your Kana is going to be saved as a result PNG file, and this file is going to be passed to the model. So a model, what it does just recognize character function. We have it here. So it reads your file and try to understand what is being written on it. Yeah, and I just did just a simple post processing to strip all the white spaces and take the first character out of model output, because it can be not 100% accurate. All right. And yeah, if the model analyzed your Kana and it produced a result, and here we're using dictionary to do the match. So if your Kana match what we have inside this dictionary, then it's okay. And you are going to have balloons and and yeah, a little party. But if it not, you are going to have a mistake and
The
warning.
the
Yeah.
balloons, is that built into Streamlit?
Yeah, exactly. This is a
Is there,
Streamlit.
if you get something wrong, is there something the opposite of balloons?
Opposite, it's just a red screen. Let me show you
Oh, okay.
this. So if I'm going to write something like I would forget what is me, I would write the symptom. So it's not so exciting as balloons, but it's just a warning that go back and study how to do how to do things properly. So yeah, we're done with this page, and the next page is a little bit more simple. You already have your kana,
Mhm.
hiragana or katakana, and you just need to try to read it. Yeah. Again, if you don't like it, you can. Oh, this is more, I guess. Yes, this was more. So you can train yourself with different characters and yeah, try to write the pronunciation here. And if we go back to the code,
Mm-hmm.
uh, sorry, where is my code? Yeah, this is our page named Kana to Romadzi. And this is pretty similar, except we don't have any drawable canvas. Again, we have a page config, title, subheader. We have a mode selection, katakana or hiragana. And we have change in mode function. And we have a random choice of our character. Uh, yeah, we have change character function here, and we have change mode function here. And yeah, what's the difference? We have inside the Streamlit form, we have a user text input. You can see Streamlit text input here, and you just write like as you would write in a Latin alphabet the pronunciation of the kana. It is doing lower casing, and then it is doing the matching by checking the what we have in a Kana dictionary. And I'm going to show you this Kana dictionary. So it's pretty straightforward. It is just doing the match between characters and their pronunciation.
For boot campers that might not know, when you want to type Japanese on a keyboard, there's two ways. There's a keyboard that has all the characters on it, kind of, and nobody uses that because that's too hard,
Yes.
right? And the other way is you phonetically spell it, right? Which is they're spelling Romaji. I think Chinese also has it the same thing. It's called pinyin, but if people remember back to the Japanese primer where we had my Japanese language teacher, she's explaining that even Japanese students like they learn how to write everything in phonetic English because they have to if they want to use computers.
Yeah, yeah. I heard about this custom Japanese keyboards, but they are so rare.
Um,
I've never seen one
what
like in a real life.
what's really interesting is if you look up like what they used to have for typewriters. So like before digital stuff, they had like this big wheel and they had to like move it to the right spot and then punch. It's really I can't imagine using a typewriter from the 1940s for Japanese. It's intense, but sorry, yep. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like you. I like your sound notes. They're very like into Japanese. Um, so yeah, and I need to stop here the recording because I forgot to do this manual certification ad.
Hmm.
Okay, or we just cut this part.
Well, here I'll just switch. So we're still here. We're just not showing the screen now, but we're still recording.
Okay, but yeah. So not to mislead people. I just need to add this custom certificate. So we should be good.
While you're
Mhm.
getting that certificate up, I'm going to show people this typewriter I'm talking about because it's so
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And obviously, different languages have different challenges. But like, imagine it's the 1940s and you need a typewriter, and so the invention was. I mean, I'm not sure what year it was, but literally, they would have to roll this thing to the right location. That all these have little kanji characters on it, and then once they roll it to the right thing, then they hit it. And so that to me is, um, it's just because I was thinking about like, how did they do it, and then I just found it. So I'm not sure if this would show in real time, but literally spinning the wheel. To me, that's insane. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, but this is a dedication, to the legacy
yeah, but
base.
yeah, but it works for them.
Yeah, I mean.
It's just
All
insane.
right.
But yeah, I think I really should have just learned French. It would have been easier for me, but too late
I
now.
would say Spanish would be the easiest choice.
Uh,
Are you
oh, I
already
agree. Oh, I agree. So
Are you
I used
agree?
to live in Spain for 3 years, and well, the problem was I lived in Barcelona, and
Mm.
They
This
speak
is not really Spanish, like it's
they speak
Catalan.
Spanish and Catalan, right?
Yeah.
Actually, for boot campers that I saw Gloria, who was she was in week one content, but she's also in the Spanish boot camp. But she's originally from, I think, Barcelona or Catalonia,
Mm.
and so she knows Catalan. But yes, that's the trick. Is that I learned a mix of Catalan and Spanish, and so now I have nothing because there was a bit of a fight about like what I should learn when I was there, and it wasn't productive.
You should choose another region.
Another
Or
region.
just
Yeah, I'll go to Basque. They just speak Spanish there, right? They don't have another. I'm making a joke for those in Spain who don't know much about Spain. There's another region in Spain called Basque, and they have their own language that has nothing to do with Spanish and nothing to do with the entire region of Europe. Like it's their own.
it's like very orphan language. Nobody knows how it like got produced.
And yeah, their cheesecake looks burnt. That's how different they are. But Basque is really interesting because I think like the reason that they were able to preserve their language is that they live in this mountainous region between France and Spain, and nobody could conquer it. So so they could just
Yeah,
preserve their
they were
language.
isolated. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, very interesting.
But yeah, that'd be an interesting one. So
Okay, I'm ready. I'm
okay,
ready to proceed.
excellent.
So, yeah, let me, yeah, we're sharing the screen. Let me just show how to run, because I already showed different parts of our Streamlit application. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to try to deploy it to AWS, actually. And first, I will just kick off the deployment because it is going to take some time. And while it is running, I will explain what's inside our Docker file, what is stack, like all the details. But first, let me kick off the deployment itself. So there are a couple of prerequisites. You need to have your AWS account because otherwise, where would you deploy it?
Hmm.
Yeah. Also, it is very good to have already AWS CLI installed. It's not a complicated task to do, and the rest, yeah, I will show you how to do it. So we need to cd our CDK, and then I will just make sure that I have my CLI configured properly.
So boot campers that are watching, you might say, what if I don't know CDK or AWS? There is it's free. They have a free tier called Amazon Developer Queue, which is an AI coding powered assistant you can install via Code. You can go ask it to explain the CDK code and say, how does this work? How do I run it? What do I need to do it? And that might get you started. You'd be surprised how far that those tools come along. The reason I'm specifically recommending that one is because AWS's AI coding assistant is designed to specifically help you with AWS. Like it's a general purpose one, but they've put extra work to make sure that their stuff, just like if you have Google Code Assist, it's specialized for Google Cloud stuff. The Amazon Developer Queue one will do that, and that's the nicest thing I'll say about. I'm not always nice to Developer Queue, but like I would say that that's something that it can do that it's good at. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I 100% agree. So yeah, here as you can see that this command Python 3 might work for you, but it doesn't work for me. That's why I included the uh, yeah, I will just run Python command without 3,
Hmm.
and it should work. But in order to use the rest of the code, I will show you a simple trick. You just need to go to .env, so it's virtual environment that we created,
Hmm.
and inside the scripts you need to create Python 3 batch file.
Oh, you know
Yeah.
what? I've never even thought about opening up the .env. I didn't even know there was stuff in it. Boot campers for that are watching here in our Gen AI Essentials, we use Conda to create an environment. It's the same thing. It's just that we're skipping one step here because we're not installing a bunch of crazy stuff because this is an application that relies on very stable libraries, and we're relying on the cloud for some other components. But you'll see earlier that Darya had, I think it was Python 3, but sometimes machines, if you install it, might be called Python 3 or it might just be called Python because I think at one point there was Python 2, and so Python would be installed and that would just be called Python, and so then they had to call the other one Python 3. But now newer machines just have no Python, and so then it becomes anyway. Yes, it. So yeah, if you see Python 3 doesn't work, just take out the 3. Is the
Yeah,
simplest explanation.
yeah. So
Mhm.
it's just like a workaround for me in this case, and
Yep.
I'm showing it because I also put this explanation inside the repo.
Yep.
So next step, we're just installing requirements, and we're already like 3 steps away from actual deployment. So the next step would be after requirements, we would call CDK bootstrap and then CDK since and then CDK deploy. So it's really easy if you have the commands and nothing breaks and works
Mhm.
fine for you. It's a really easy and quick way to deploy your scenes to AWS. And I will explain what things once we have this pipeline running for deployment, because it's going to take some time and we will be checking it in the meantime.
For those who aren't familiar with CDK, it is it's a framework that sits on top of CloudFormation. So CloudFormation is YAML, and folks did not like writing YAML, at least if you're from a developer background. People that like to write programming codes wanted a real programming language to write their infrastructure, and so it comes in multiple different languages. We have Python, TypeScript, maybe Go, maybe C sharp. I don't know. I know they don't have Ruby, but the is my favorite language. But so you get to pick your favorite language, and you can write infrastructure. What are you using? Is it TypeScript or Python or for the CDK project?
Python.
Okay.
Like I completely built it using Python, and it was yeah, main challenge for me was because I was following the like other code examples in repo, but they had a version 1 of
Yes.
the CDK, and I had to do like translation to version 2, but that was the main challenge for me. Otherwise, when it's smooth, you can just deploy it quite fast.
I know that the TypeScript one is the best supported one in terms of
Mm.
documentation and the first one they do, but like since we're working with a like an AI kind of project, it kind of makes sense to do everything in Python. It makes your life super easy. So I would that's what I was thinking. I was thinking you probably chose Python because now you don't have to work with one language across the board, especially if someone else comes into the project.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like a purpose of creating this whole CDK scene. So you could use your language of choice to have things done. So now we are starting the actual build. And first it's built in the Docker container, and then it will push this Docker container to ECR or Elastic Container Registry to AWS account. So it will take some time. And while it is going, we will just review what's inside our Docker file, right? Because I already mentioned Docker, and you're probably curious what's going on.
Hmm.
So, actual Docker file is very simple and very short here. We're not doing some like fancy schmancy deployment. We just have our official Python image here. We're creating working directory called app. We're copying all the files here. Then we're installing system dependencies. And then we're installing Python dependencies here. So like you can think about building a Docker container is like create a container, like a shipping container, where you put inside all libraries, all requirements, and that it can be like independent. It can be transferred to any like operation system and have everything it needs to just be up and running. So that's the idea. And then it is going to preload, to run the script of model preload in here. And I will show this, what this script does. And then it exposes the port for the Streamlit and basically start our Streamlit application. You see this init Streamlit app.py.
Yep.
So this is our entry point that I showed you. So Streamlit knows that our app has multiple pages and where to find each page. And yeah, going to preload model, what it does because we have our like almost like custom optical character recognition model, and it lives somewhere in a Hugging Face hub. So we need to download it somehow. But one way to do it is to do it when you, for example, already created and you're already loading your Streamlit page. But imagine, because I already mentioned that every time you click something on a Streamlit page, it's going to reload the whole page. Okay, you may say, I would use cache for not loading the page, like to use this model from the cache and not loading it multiple times. But there is also an issue because each time, like every new person will start loading your application, it is going to trigger this model loading. So why wouldn't we already preload the model while we are building the Docker container, Docker image, right? So this script is exactly designed to do this while we are creating this, while we're building the Docker container, we're already like downloading the model and it's ready to be used in our application. So that is idea of this download model function in our preload model code.
And if folks are wondering where the environment variable is, in our Gen AI Essentials, I just keep pointing to this because if some folks didn't watch all of it, we show how to download a model from Hugging Face and where we put the key and how it gets preloaded into there. I would imagine that this would, I guess, well, we don't want to show the key because it's your key, but there's probably a configuration with it within, oh, sorry, within CDK or yeah, I would think so, right? Somewhere is it somewhere in CDK? There's a configuration file to put in the environment variable, or is it done? Yeah, it would have to be. It would have to be. Yeah, so it's somewhere. And if folks don't know where it is, that's your opportunity to use Amazon Developer Queue and say, where does the environment variable go? And I think it will point it out to you. Hmm.
Mm, yeah, exactly. So let me check in the meantime what's going on in our repo.
Sure.
Uh, yeah, I see that.
And it takes a little bit of time. I'm trying to think like what's taking because we have if we go back to the architectural diagram, we
Yeah,
have oh, Chris.
we have things we haven't talked about, and I'm going to cover this right now.
Hmm.
So, all right, I talked a little bit about our Docker, what's going on here,
Hmm.
and I'm going to show you the actual architecture and what will go on when you deploy it to your AWS account.
Hmm.
So here, the main like brain and the main place of action is your Streamlit application, and it is going to be deployed as Elastic Container Service for Gate task. So yeah, it may seem like a lot of words here. What is Elastic Container Service? What is Fargate? But uh, you can think about this, that when you run a like Docker container on AWS, you need to use Elastic Container Service,
Hmm.
like a service that will manage the running thing. And you have two options here. One option is to use EC2 instances and to manage them, and basically you will have more control over your instances here. But if you don't want to do it and you don't need like this specific low level of control, you can choose a Fargate type of running. And a Fargate is a serverless way to do it. So it doesn't mean you don't have servers. It means that you don't care about those processes that are going under the hood. And then um, your application may become popular in a, like, for example, you will share it with your colleagues, and then they will share with some other people. So it may cause a lot of like traffic. And in order to handle such situations, we have autoscaling here. So, and it will be tracked based on a CPU utilization. And when it hits certain threshold, certain level, it will increase automatically the like capacity of your application. And when it's not needed, it will decrease the capacity of your application. So it's pretty handy because you don't need to bother about this either. What else? This whole application would live inside a VPC. You can see this purple line and a purple like container of
Mhm.
VPC. So it's going to be like secured and live inside virtual private cloud. And the thing that will manage the balancing and distribution and traffic distribution will be application load balancer. And this would be your like entry point. After the things got deployed to AWS, we will have application load balancer DNS name or DNS address. We will copy this address, and that would be like address where our application would live inside your AWS account.
For boot campers that are following along, I do need to warn you that I believe NAT Gateway has spend. I mean, Fargate has spend, but NAT Gateway has spend. And so, if you want to try to spin this up, don't leave it up for long. Or if you can't cost, if you don't have any cost for pennies, just watch. There's another way that we could deploy Streamlit, but there might be other technical challenges. Streamlit.io allows you to host in the cloud the deployments if you want to deploy it. But there are a few things like that custom model. We go, okay, maybe Streamlit can host it, but could it download the Hugging Face model? I don't know if it could do that. So there might be some trade-offs, but there are other solutions that might be free or less moving parts. This also could be modified where we don't need a NAT gateway, but from a secure perspective, you really want to deploy it in a private subnet. I can't remember. I think Fargate, you have to. You think I would know because I did an entire boot camp. Like boot campers that did the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, they know exactly all this stuff. But I'm saying like I can't remember if Fargate only deploys in private or if it can do public and private. I honestly can't remember. I think that I
I don't
remember.
know
Oh, serious?
for sure. I don't know for sure.
It's always I don't remember because like there's so much stuff going into AWS, but I know for certain that Fargate gets an IP address assigned to it. It must be able to be public because it gets assigned a public IP address. But there's a more unsecure way that you could do this. And the reason why you want that ALB there is because if you only had an IP address and it changed when you deployed it, then it's going to be annoying. So that's why the ALB is there. That's what I remember. Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's why it's there. But you could do it in public, but again, there's security trade-offs, right? Oh, sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no worries. Yeah, because it's, the deployment topic is like a separate topic, and one it can be the whole bootcamp about deploying an like Streamlit or any
But
kind
it,
of
it could
application.
it could be an entire boot camp. You say?
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's made an entire boot camp on just this.
I
Because
mean, I mean, if you start, for example, if you start thinking, like the least level of, let's say, granularity is to deploy it to EC2 instance, right?
Mhm.
But you need to do it right. Then you would possibly try to use containers. Then, like, I saw some, what when I was building this, I also thought about why couldn't we just use something like serverless, like Lambda? But it is not the case with Streamlit. And
Oh,
people were asking about it. But it actually would be funny to find this way is deployment, this way of deployment as well. So, and if we go like over cloud providers and then to the Streamlit cloud as well. So there are like already, I mean, maybe like 7 topics that can be covered. But anyway, yeah. So it's really where we should say it depends, um, and the deployment can be very very different depending on your case.
In the last week, Gloria made a video where she got DeepSeek running on Lambda, AWS Lambda. I'm like, how did you do that? She's like, yeah, I had to do some strange things to get it to work, and I was like, that's impressive. So I get like, it's interesting to see when people put things on. Like, it's not to say that they can't go on those things, but it's like overcoming those challenges and see if it works. Like, I'm trying to find a Streamlit ever runs on Lambda. I can't find any videos on it, but I'm just thinking like in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe you could make a custom runtime, right? And then you look like there might be a way to do it, but whether you should do it is a different story, right? So,
Yes,
mhm,
exactly. What they should do is it's a different story. Yeah. So going back to our stack, I promised to explain a little bit more about the
mhm.
stack itself. As you, Andrew, already mentioned, we have different programming languages to use in our CDK, and you already mentioned TypeScript, I guess JavaScript. We have Python, Java, C Sharp, .NET, Go
Oh,
as well.
that's
Yeah,
pretty close. Yeah.
yeah. So you can use your code to build like why why on earth this idea of using like infrastructure of code, because it is fun if you try to learn things and you will build them manually inside the console, but it's not fun when you have 100 applications and you need to make sure that their deployment is consistent over the time. So that's why you have this possibility to create constructs and to define stacks of your resources and then to create apps on top of stacks. So, but this example of our code is actually a pretty simple stack, and I will show you. If we go to CDK and we try to look what's inside our app, yeah, this is our app. It contains only one stack, Kana Streamlit app. And if we try to check what's inside this stack, this is it. Like 40 or no, not 40, 50, 54 lines of code, and you have your entire application like defined.
In the boot camp, we used CloudFormation, and this took forever to write. Like this is the same amount of code, like because I don't know, I'm like, let's do everything in CloudFormation, but like this is such less work than what I did. I'm I'm wondering why I didn't use CDK now. Mhm.
Yeah, you know the real trick here is when you call the command cdk since what it does, it just synthesize or it create a like YAML file, a JSON file, basically your file that is going to CloudFormation. So this part is already automated and being created instead of you. So just by having this simple short code.
I think we're basically out of time, but how's the deployment going? I know deployments take it's hard to always kind of estimate how long they're going to take, but
Yeah, I see that we're still on a Docker stage.
I see. Yep.
Yeah,
But it,
so
mhm.
I have like several things to cover about this
Oh,
code.
okay, sure. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to show you how we can observe the actual cloud formation, the actual deployment pipeline
Oh,
inside the cloud formation. So let me focus first on the code
oh,
and
sure.
then yeah. So, what the stock creation code does here, first, it's creating a VPC with two availability zones, as you see, or as you saw on architecture diagram.
Hmm.
Then it creates an ECS or Elastic Container Service cluster.
Hmm.
Inside this VPC, you already created. And then it creates a EM role with a principle of least privilege. Then it is doing the content like building the container from your Docker file and pushing it to Elastic Container Registry. And then we're using as I already explained, we're using Fargate. We're running our containers using Fargate, so we don't care about service. And we have customly defined amount of CPU and memory, which is defined in config, so you can modify this if you want to. And we have a public load balancer here. So our output would be a load balancer DNS name. And then we have auto scaling uh, we have auto scaling configured here. So, and it is based on a CPU usage. So yeah, this is basically code, and we're still waiting for the container to be pushed. I don't know whether you have another image of a Japanese keyboard.
The container itself, it's going to, I guess, it's building the container, it's pushing it to ECR.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and that's why we cannot see. I can bring you.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I can bring you stocks, my stocks here, and you can see that you cannot see the stock even here right now because it is still like doing pre-processing step. Yeah, but once it kick off, we will see Kana Streamlit up stuck here, and we will see what events, what is in progress, what is already created, and what we are waiting for.
Well, as we're waiting, I would love to show Manga OCR a bit more because as I was reading it, it was very interesting to me. A little bit about it from again, I'm not a data scientist, but for me, just reading about it was kind of interesting. So here I have Manga OCR, and the bootcampy part of this is that it's a custom end-to-end model using Transformer Vision Encoder Decoder framework. If you click over to here, it goes to Hugging Face, and it just starts to explain, like how one could work with this. So I imagine that if you're trying to target another language, maybe what you're looking for as your keyword is a vision encoder decoder model. And so now I go, okay, let's say I want to do Tokipona. I'm not sure if you've heard of Tokipona, Darya, but it is a artificially constructed language of 100 words, something like only 100 words. So
Okay.
the idea is that you can learn the vocabulary in a day, right? However, the trade-off with it is that because I don't care if it's safe, it's fine. I'm trying to get to this diagram, but the point is that because the vocabulary is still simple, I think that the grammar can get really grammar's simple too, but it makes really long sentences. And they even created basically their own character for each word. So like if you want to say kala, it looks like a fish. I don't know if that actually means fish, and then lipu here. And so it looks like nonsense, but it works. And so I'm going, okay, if you're doing Tokipona, do they have a vision encoder decoder model, right? So you go here, and we'll go over to this one. So it says that they have one here, or maybe down below we see Hugging Face, right? And so it doesn't exactly tell us what's going on here. We go to this one here. I mean, hey, they got a white paper, so it must be good. As soon as you see a white paper, right, it must be good. And so I'm going, okay, so now there's a model for this. And I guess they explain it, so I'd have to read through the paper to figure it out. You know, it looks kind of scary when you see these papers, but often they just read like human English and it's easy. But we'll go here, and so this is just the paper. But it says distill GPT-2, so they use GPT-2 to make this, and so you go through here. And so here we have something here. But my point is that even if you're not doing Japanese, if you're doing something like Tokipona, there's probably somebody that's thought, what if I can try to recognize it and do the writing? Or even if you can't figure it out, it's just more interesting to go and find that out here. So I'm not sure if they're trying to train a model to do this, because this looks like just text. What I'm looking for is the images, eh? So yeah, this just looks like text. Sorry.
I just think maybe if they're using like GPT-2, they can fine tune it.
Maybe. If we go over here, like they go Tokipona language model, I go here, no files. So somebody was thinking about doing that, right? So maybe we go here and type in Tokipona. But we have boot campers, and they're choosing some really interesting languages, and a lot of them are like looking for models to try to run, right? And so there's a little bit of a trick to try to find something that might work. And so these might just be, again, it's hard, right? Like a lot of people don't document their stuff, but there must be some way to make Tokipona work. But yeah, how I don't know. I'd have to read a little bit more about it. But here, right? I'm not sure how deep you get into this kind of stuff, but um,
I just, when I was trying to find a model for this character recognition, I quickly realized that we need to use something specific and tailored to the use case, because this model was based on a manga, and that's why it's good at Japanese recognition. And I just, if you go, you can just try to check it for yourself. You just can, for example, draw a simple kana and try to use it like a ChatGPT input, and it would be extremely bad at recognition.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't. I thought maybe it would be bad at recognition at recognizing very similar characters, but in fact, it was very bad at recognizing characters at all. Like,
So let me see if I can get a brush out here. I have a tablet. I just don't have it hooked up here. But let's try to get I'm trying to look what would be more Japanese like brush here. Like this. Oh yeah, there we go. So
oh,
we'll get this out here. Oh, that's big enough. So I'm just trying to think of a character I know. One I have to draw like every 2 seconds is kare, which means his, or kanojo, which is her. When you're writing Japanese, they use it a lot. They never speak it though. And so that would be it would be like this, and then we would go like this, and that would be kare. So that's kare. And this is a little bit better there. And so let's see if we can actually bring this in as a test, just to see like how do the generic ones work. Like if we were to use ChatGPT. So I'm going to copy this, or sorry, cut this. Like it can OCR good written things, but can it OCR terrible handwriting for me? That's the question. So we'll go here, and I'm going to save this to my desktop. Save it as a PNG. And let's do this off screen here. And we'll call this kare. Constantly writing kare. And so I'm going to go over to ChatGPT. And we'll go over to a model here. You can see I'm always trying to learn languages here on the left-hand side. I'm trying to see one that actually has... there have too many models. I'm getting so confused which is which anymore these days. Does this one take it? Because some of them don't take images. This one can take an image. So it should be able to do OCR. So I'll go here, and I will drag this here. And by the way, like I'll watch an anime, and I'll take a screenshot of every single subtitle text because I can't dump the subtitle file. I tried doing it; it's so hard to do. It was easier just to copy each line, but so tedious. We'll go ahead and
yeah.
does it know what it is? I didn't give it a description. Sorry. Sorry. Can you identify? Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay. Good. Please, 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 please. But again, this isn't fine-tuned. This isn't specifically for this task. So and it's taking a really long time to figure this out. Okay, so it did get
Okay.
kare. Did I mess it up? I forgot the first part of it. So it still got it. Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's weird. Like when you have to think about things in front of folks, a little bit harder. I like
Um,
that pen, but
could you write simple kana
oh
like
sure, yeah, yeah, yeah.
car or something like
Oh yeah,
that?
like a word? Sure, yeah, let's try that. So, well, car is just one thing, it's kuruma. But what if we were to write it as just the kana, or sorry, the hiragana? So I'll go here. I'm gonna try a different brush. Let's see here. There we go. So kuruma, ku. So we have ku, ru. So we have this ru, and then ma, kuruma. And usually you'd represent it as kanji, but we'll see if it can pick this up. So I'll save this one here to my desktop. We'll call this. You know what? I'm not gonna put the name in here. I'll say
Yeah,
Japanese something.
don't give it away.
That's another thing, right? Because maybe it's like, oh yeah, it's Kare. It just like looked at the file name, right? Like literally, it can do that, right? So that's something that we have to be careful here. I'm gonna start a new chat. I don't want to even know that we're doing Japanese. But I'll say, can you read this for me, please? What does it say? Because it can't be anything but Japanese, but we'll say here. Okay, so it got good enough.
Okay, it recognized it. I wonder
Yeah.
why. Um,
Well,
when I tried some like simple Kana, really simple Kana, it wasn't so good. But I tried it maybe 1 month ago.
okay.
Maybe it
Well,
has already improved.
well, it depends on the model, right? So like here
Mm.
we're on this one. If we go and switch over to oh, I'm so confused. GPT-4, does this one take an image? It does. So let's try this one here. We'll say, read, what does this say? Also, the other thing is like they can update these models and we don't even know. Because like even when they have GPT-4, they have GPT-4 and like a bunch of versions of
Ah,
it, right?
you see here.
So the character in the image you provided are Japanese kanji for future. Oh yeah, there you go. That makes sense. Um, I know one of our boot campers. They were trying to do. I have a hard time saying it, but it's Urdu.
Urdu?
Yeah, yeah. Hi. And and so they were saying like they couldn't handle. So like there's Meta. I don't know if Meta can do it, but like Meta couldn't produce anything that made sense. But anyway, yeah. So it has to come down to specific models. But like the thing is like you might want a dumber model that's fine tuned because it's cheaper, it's faster, right? And it's fine that like it's great that this one did it. But imagine if you had a lot of text, right? And you want to run it locally or you want to, just run it cheaply. But
Uh,
yeah, sure.
Here's another point. If you just need, for example, a specific, just like in our case, you need just a reading, like pronunciation of kana, it would be also like a challenge to restrict the model. Yeah, because if you do it like for one time, it could like follow your instructions. But if you do it like prompt by prompt massively, it could like provide some explanations, descriptions, and you obviously don't want to have them.
Another thing I was thinking is that if this is probably I would think that this is faster than any of these LM models and smaller. It's like imagine you wanted to build it where you could write in real time and then it would identify it because you'd have to hit it multiple times. This is where a smaller, more efficient model would make more sense. And so that would be really interesting. Um, but yeah, I think I'd probably try to use the optimized model here. But of course, clearly, if you don't have this, like let's say you're using a target language. Oh yeah, Tokipona. Can it do Tokipona? Let's go take a look. So like maybe it can, right? So again, this would not be the most cost-effective way to uh, do it, but we have uh, really
What
cool,
a
like cool.
big.
Well, the problem is I don't know the language. Like I told everyone like you should learn it, and then I didn't learn it myself. But maybe I will at one point. But let's go take a look here. I'm gonna try to draw. What do we have here? We have this one, and I don't know, but
Kule.
we're gonna just yeah.
Kulupo.
So we should. It'd be really interesting if we could get like a tech conference, but everyone has to learn this language first. As I say, it's really easy, right? Imagine that. That'd be very strange. We'll go here and I'll say we'll say con. I don't know what any of this stuff means, but because the language is so simple, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm able to say something in here. So I'll do con lape. Let's finish this here, and then we'll say lasso. No, kasi. What do you think this means in because it's like steam, lollipop, uh,
Flower.
flower, right? I don't know. And we'll save this, and I'm gonna give it a little bit of help. I'm gonna say Tokipona image, and I should have done. It's okay. So we'll go here. I'm
But
gonna
but
go.
but it's
Yes.
not so new, right? Tokipona. When was
Um,
it created?
I don't know, like 20. I think in the last 10 years at least. But the thing is that I think actually LLMs are really good at the text version of Tokipona. Oh, let's go. We're on 4.0. So I'll say here
I'm
like
surprised.
what does this say in Tokipona? Okay. I mean, maybe not in Tokipona, but this is Tokipona. What does it say? I'll process the images. So I'm just curious, can it do it? Because then no one has an excuse that they can use any language they want. So it says, oh, okay, but can you recognize
So
Each of
P.
the Toki Pona characters. There are three in the image. Because my wording was a bit unusual. Like I said, what does it say in Tokipona? But it's more like what this is an image of Tokipona. What are they, right? So here it says Site Lane Pona. Is that what we chose? We had no, we had Linga Lape Kisa. And oh, sorry, it's still
No,
going, right? Okay. Oh, weird. Oh, actually, no, sorry. I actually drew no, I read that wrong. It's
con.
Con
Yeah, con.
Lape Kasi. Con Lape Kasi.
Mm.
So here it says the image contains distinct, but it's interesting. Like I didn't know it could do this. Oh, so it's like using another program to try to analyze it.
It's using Matplotlib, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not that familiar with Matplot, but that makes sense. Like it sounds like it's for plotting math. I don't
Yeah, yeah,
understand why
yeah.
it's being used for that. But we have the third glyph is so Sluli Pia Pona, and we said it is Con Lape Kasi. So I would say that it has an accuracy of 0. But it's interesting to see like why was it able to do Japanese, but could it do anything else? And it looks like it reasoned it through. So maybe you could get it to do it if it had tool use to reason based on the shapes or something. But it would be such a weird indirect way to try to solve it and very be computationally expensive. I'm not sure if I would suggest that, but now we know, right? So, but at least I can use Japanese here. So but well, we'll see. We'd have to do more of it, and also the cost. I'm not sure if the cost is worth it. But manga OCR. One thing I would be also interested to know is that in manga, like a lot of manga, they have furigana, which are the little things that tell you how to say the this is for our boot campers to know how to say the kanji. We can actually see it right here. If we make this larger, you see like there's these little dots. These are actually smaller hiragana characters to tell you how to say the larger kanji.
Mm.
And I wonder if it would also extract that information out as well and put it in the appropriate area. Because like look up here. I mean, they're using a third tool. There's furigana right there telling you how to say that. But I wonder if the output would also pick it up and associate with it. But I guess you wouldn't need those because it probably would know what the underlying kana is. So I would think that it would admit it, but I don't know. So that'd be interesting. But how's our Docker build going?
It is still pending. I can show you the my screen.
Sure.
What's going on? So here, yeah, we have our container pushed, and I
Oh
don't
wow.
know, I don't know how much time we need to wait for it for, but it's been already a while.
But you know what? Like the thing is that I think that we have all the moving parts. Like the most important part is like how is this OCR thing happening, and is it actually using generative AI? And I mean, I would call this generative AI because it's talking about a vision encoder decoder, and even if that's not Gen AI in particular, it is a type of model. I mean, yeah, it would be Gen AI because it's generating something, right? But it's not. This is not specifically an LM. This is just a component of the vision side of things, if that makes sense. But because it says Transformers here, if it says Transformers, it's Gen AI. That's that. That's what it is. Simply, if it says Transformers, then it's Gen AI. And it's included in the boot camp. But in the Gen AI Essentials, we covered really early about Transformers architecture, and how vision encoder decode. I sound like I know more than I do, but that these are utilized for it, and we saw these words here like BERT and stuff. So therefore, this is Gen AI. But yeah, I think that the boot campers have enough. Like we have the Streamlit app, we can run it locally. The deployment is a separate component of it. We have a general idea of like how you would deploy it. But boot campers don't need to deploy this in this particular way. But we do have one deployment project through this boot camp, which is through containers, and it's uh, I would not describe it as easy, but yeah, no, I appreciate this being built to show our boot campers. But for folks that don't know, it's like Darya was just had already built it. It was awesome. Like it was like perfect fit into the boot camp. So I was really excited to see this project included.
I also wanted to underline the importance of having this Streamlit kind of applications. Oh, you see?
Did it just finish?
Yeah, we can.
As
We
soon as we
can.
try to leave, it's like, oh no, pull us in. You know what's gonna happen? It's tricking us. It's gonna pull us in, and then it's gonna say you got to wait longer too.
Yeah, but yeah, I also wanted to maybe underline the importance of learning such things as a Streamlit, or there is one an analog of Streamlit, Gradio. Yeah, whenever you use it, is a great way to showcase your work, because if you work on some kind of model, it's very challenging for non-technical people to understand what is your model for, and it is very easy to impress and showcase your work if you have something to touch and if you have something to play with. So this is the main idea, and I like, yeah, opinions are different upon Streamlit. Yeah, it is hard maybe to customize it enough for very specific use cases. But what is great about it, that you can learn it in a quick way, really quick way, and you have even elements like balloons to fly, and you can adapt it based on your need and show it to the world. So, sorry.
And oh yeah, I would say like I taught a bit about I taught more Gradio than Streamlit because I'm not good at Streamlit. But there are what I found is like you can use LMs to produce it. Like they're designed to be LMs are trained to in the data space. The data folks went, we don't like writing front ends, so we're gonna make it so we can just write pure Python with the least amount of stuff to make it. And then they took it a step further, and because they had so many examples, LLMs are really good at just like producing the interfaces you want in these frameworks. But Streamlit was interesting because I found that it was a bit more complex. But if you did invest the time to learn it, it's like you could build really good interfaces very quick, like rapidly prototype interfaces for showcasing. But for this, did you write all the Streamlit by hand, or did you use a generative tool?
I used like for the structure, I already had an example of structure, because this entry point and this pages, and it was mentioned somewhere in Streamlit blocks, I guess, when I learned about this. And then I just had an idea, what should I do? And I just created, like a draft of different parts. And yeah, actually, I used ChatGPT for like creating some kind of code, and for brushing code, like edit type hints and make it more beautiful, essentially.
So every single week I have Japanese lessons with my Japanese teacher, and every time the lesson kind of changed, I would try to uh, min max, like make it like efficient on my study time by building the app that I needed for that week that was for specifically that learning. And I kept using Streamlit because it was so fast. So like if we were doing like like question and answer, like I'm going to be asked a question and an answer, I would go build up that app every single week. That's how I ended up with this boot camp. I just kept building every week a different app. And then my teacher's like, just study, stop building apps, just study. You're like, I'm like, no, I almost have the app working. Like I'd spend all week trying to get the app working, and then I would get like 2 hours to study before the class, and it was just like, just study. You don't need an app. But my point is that you can build like a new study app every week. But if you're going to have lessons, just have them 2 weeks apart, so you have 1 week to build the app
For
and one
build.
week to use the app. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a
Hmm.
great idea. And I also wanted to show quickly what
Hmm.
is going on inside our AWS account. So if you go to CloudFormation, you will see that this is our stack kind of Streamlit app. And you can see that there are events being produced. Yeah, some resources are already created, and some are still in progress. You can see, yeah, this is more high level understanding what resources are there.
Hmm.
And our web app is still in progress, but we already have our VPC, we have our cluster, and here we would have the output. So essentially the address where would go to see our app. So yeah, for this point, you just need to, like sit and wait, or just make a coffee and wait. And it is, yeah, it's on step 38 out of 42. And then if you if you just don't need this anymore, you can run a command cdk destroy, and it will destroy all the resources completely. So, and it is very handy to, change some parts, deploy, destroy, so you won't occasionally forget about something and receive a huge bill.
We have already had one boot camper that, I mean, it wasn't a big bill, but they had unexpected spend with SageMaker, which is no surprise. But yeah, there's, cloud is great, but you have to, just watch what you're doing, right? So you don't end up with a big bill. But every time I've had a big bill, AWS has always given me the money back. So, but it doesn't happen to me often, right? So like it happens like every other year, and there's a very specific reason for it, and I explain it to them in a very nice way. But I've always gotten my uh, forgiven, right? So yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, because things happen. People just don't know, don't read, forget about stuff. Yeah, it's good that we have some kind of automation, but behind this, always there is a human factor.
I think of it like power tools. You know what I mean? You can use a table saw, but it can like make you very productive. But if you're not careful, it can cut off a finger, right? So you have to be not that extreme with a cloud, but you have to be learn
Moderate.
how to use them properly, right? Yes.
Exactly. So, yeah, I guess we can wait for like a couple of minutes
Okay.
to show the output once we're here. And yeah, and also if you want to, like check what is going on, you're impatient to see,
Hmm.
you can go, for example, to your resources
Hmm.
and check what we're going to check. Let's check our VPC here. So if you go to VPC console, you will see that our VPC is created. Um, we can see the subnets, root tables, connections here. So you just did in the console itself nothing. You just hit deploy in your locally, and it's being built for you in your AWS account, and it is like an amazing way to automate things. Yeah, and similarly, you can check in other resources that are created, and yeah, basically see what's going on.
So Daria, do you like anime, and is there a particular anime you like to watch?
Just yesterday I watched the boy and the hero. Was the latest anime from Hayao Miyazaki, and it is amazing. I mean, they are producing multiple words in a single anime, and I just amazed how can they even think about it and then create it in such detailed level. Yeah,
I hadn't
they're
even heard of this
beautiful.
one. I thought this maybe it wasn't Hayao Mizaki, but I thought there was one. I thought there was a studio looks just like it though, but they said they weren't making any more. Now they're come back and they're making more. So I'm wondering if this is the one here. But I've definitely seen this one in particular. Is this the same studio that makes the one where they have like it's like these buildings that drive on wheels? What is that one called?
Buildings that drive on wheels.
That's like the weirdest description I know, but I'm checking here.
They mean the Ghibli studio?
They look a lot Oh, did they make Weathering with You?
No, Weathering with You is Makoto Shinkai.
Okay. So I really like those like that those particular series of ones because the language they use in those it has such common vocabulary and so diverse that for language learning it's really good. So that's why I really like I mean I like all of them. It's just those ones in particular oh, is it up?
Yeah, it is up.
Hooray!
So you can see that from our command line here, we have our
Mhm.
outputs. And essentially, it's the same one. Yeah, we have our HTTP DNS name of our application load balancer. And if we copy and paste it in our browser, and we can see the same app that we run locally,
Mm-hmm.
except that this is public. So it can be shared with anyone. And also, if you're curious and you go back to our stack, you can see the output here. And let's check the application load balancer itself. Then it's real, no scam. Yeah, you can see that it was created as well. So, yeah, here's your app. You can learn and progress in your Japanese.
Well, there we go. And I think one thing we always have to learn if you want to be a cloud engineer is having patience. patience is
Yes.
patience is key. You're just kind of used to like, and everyone's seen those comics where it's, like my code's compiling. It's my code's. It's my cloud infrastructure is deploying. I'm sure there's a variant of it, but I was just looking up that particular artist or director, and I didn't realize that they also made Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which is from the 80s. But I just love this kind of this interesting aesthetic. It's based off of some, I can't remember. This is based off another one, which is based off another artist. But I really like the style of it. And then they also have Whisper of the Heart, which I haven't seen either. But this looks a lot like Kiki's
Yeah, Kiki's delivery service or something like that.
so, but now I have more to watch. So now you've added to my list. But and I'm as long as it's for study or for the boot camp, I can make the time. But yeah, so it's deployed. Do you want if we wanted to tear it down? Do we have a second to show how you tear down that infrastructure?
Yeah. Sure, sure, sure. I forgot about this, but let's do it. So this
Just
is,
just in case people don't want to have spend. But
yeah,
it's as simple as that, I think, right?
yeah. You just type cdk destroy, and it will ask you if you're sure or not, and then all the resources are destroyed. But we are not going to wait until this, but until all the resources will be destroyed, but they will be destroyed.
Um, but yeah, so I would say that yeah, it'll take a while for this to destroy. So we'll just assume it destroys it all. But yeah, this was a great project. Appreciate your time coming out here and walking us through it. I think boot campers are going to be excited, and maybe they'll learn a bit of Japanese or Tokipona. Um, but I still need a little bit more work with my Tokipona. But maybe next reInvent I will have Tokipona down, and we'll see if we can get anyone else. If they say 100 words, you should be able to learn it in a day. At least the words, right? The grammar, everything else, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, appreciate your time here, and we're gonna see boot campers in class soon, and we'll just say adios or sayonara to everybody there. So, ciao, ciao.
Thanks a lot.